Stop scrolling. Would you sell your ADA at $1 or hold out for $8.50? Now hang on, because the difference could be six figures. Okay, so picture this. It's a boring Tuesday. You're sipping coffee, checking prices, and Cardano's just sitting there at like 70 cents. Same old sideways shuffle. Then Dan, yes, the guy who called ADA's last bull run, drops a thread that's basically screaming, have an exit plan or get wrecked. Now I'm instantly hooked because I remember 2021 when I watched my unrealized gains moon, then melt faster than an ice cream cone in Dubai sun. Now, I'm not doing that again. Today, we're unpacking Dan's play-by-play on how to ride ADA from pocket change to a possible $8.50. Grab profits at every rung, and still keep a moon bag for bragging rights. So stick around, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly the Excel ladder that he's using, the magic risk score that flashed before Cardano's last 35x rally, and why the big money narrative, Bitcoin-powered DeFi on Cardano, might be about to kick fuel into the tank. Oh, and here's a quick heads up. If you like hearing alpha like this in real time, the link to our free crypto Discord server is in the description down below. Jump in, say hi, and snag the charts the moment that they hit my screen. All right, so coffee refilled. Let's start with the heartbeat of this whole thing, Cardano's long-term risk score. Now, Dan's model spits out a 39 right now. On his scale, anything under 40 is basically a neon sign blinking moderate buy zone. So here's a quick history check. June 6th, 2020, ADA flashed the exact same 39 while trading at a laugh out loud 8.6 cents. Fast forward 15 months, $3.16, a 3,574% rocket ride. Now that little number is how Dan kept emotion out of the game. Instead of doom scrolling on Twitter, he asks, is the score telling me there's still gas left? Now right now the answer is yes, and it's not just vibes, it's actually backed by trillions of dollars of fresh capital sniffing around crypto, plus Cardano's own plan to unlock Bitcoin baked, DeFi. More on that in a second. But knowing when to buy is the easy half, right? The real heartburn comes the morning that you wake up, ADA's doubled overnight, and your brain yells, sell everything. Now that's where Dan's kind of template earns its keep, right? He starts with a clean round number, 100,000 ADA stashed at an average of 50 cents. That's a 50K position. Nothing crazy for crypto veterans, but spicy enough to move the needle. Now, imagine price finally pokes its head above $1.25, right? That's what Dan calls the bull market door. Now, it's not the finish line. It's actually proof the crowd's getting serious, right? He peels off 10K ADA right there. Banking $7,500. Pocket change maybe, but he's already locked a 50% return on 1/10 of his stack, while 90% keeps working. If the market turns ugly, well, the next day he's at least paid for dinner. Step 2, $2.50, roughly halfway between the door and the old all-time high. Another 10K coins up for sale. Profit, 27 grand in realized gains. Now, he's playing with house money, right? Because the original 50K is basically back in his pocket. Now, he could yank out the initial capital, let the rest ride, and mentally detach. But no, right? He's still thinking bigger, right? At $3.80, a hair above the previous peak, he sells another 10,000 ADA and scoops 60 grand, right? Remember, this is the kind of price discovery zone, meaning that nobody really knows how crazy the candles can get. And that's why Dan bumps up his sell sizes next. 15,000 ADA gets listed at $5.20 and another 15,000 at $6.25. Now, if both orders hit, he's realized $217,250 from those two moves alone. At this point, roughly 2/3 of his entire bag is gone. Yep, he's up an eye-popping 660% on the overall position. And he's still got 40,000 ADA chilling for home run territory, specifically the $8.50 target. Another 10K flies out the door there, snagging 85 grand. Now we've got, 30,000 coins left. That's under a third of the original stash to either stake, lend, or hold for the next cycle's Netflix documentary. Now, let's hit pause and talk psychology, because numbers are easy until terror meets the greed. Right, back in 2021, I watched ETH rip to $4,000, told myself I'd try to trim at 5K, and then rode it back to $1,800 like a stubborn mule, right? Why? No pre-written exit plan, right? Every candle felt like a personal attack on my FOMO circuits, right? Dan's plan removes that drama. You preset the sell orders, you shut the laptop and you touch grass, or if you're me, you scroll memes about kind of grilled cheese on chain. Now, the plan actually kind of protects you from the best case scenarios, right? Sounds weird, right? But imagine ADA does blast to $10. If you never sold a coin, awesome, you're rich on paper. But if the market then nukes 80%, and it did in 2018 and 2022, you just rode the roller coaster without cashing a single ticket. Paper gains don't pay the rent. Now, about that $8.50 ceiling. Why not $8? Why not $10? Well, Dan isn't tossing darts in a dark room. He's eyeballing Fibonacci extensions from the previous cycle's impulsive waves. Now, in plain English, he's using history's rhythm to forecast the next crescendo. And sure, technicals aren't a crystal ball, but they're better than gut feelings fueled by late night Red Bull. Add the macro backdrop, the US spot Bitcoin ETFs have already shoved tens of billions into the space, and whispers of an Ethereum ETF are, of course, growing louder in terms of them getting better performances. And of course, ADA ETFs are potentially just around the corner. So trillions in sidelined institutional cash are kind of peeking over the fence, thinking maybe this cycle or this kind of crypto thing, it isn't, tulips after all. And even if, a trickle flows into smart contract platforms, beyond Ethereum, i.e. Cardano, it stands to grab a significant slice. And speaking of grabbing slices, quick shout out to today's partner, Blowfin, the up and coming crypto exchange where you can test this entire exit ladder without the clunky UI of the boomer platforms. The link is in the description down below. Sign up, grab your welcome bonus, and place those limit sells in advance. Trust me, the future you will thank the present you for automating the discipline. Okay. Deep breath. Let's zoom into the chart action right now, because none of this really matters if ADA can't break the resistance, right? Ali Martinez spotted a nasty descending channel on the 4-hour chart, and the ceiling kind of parked at around 74 cents, right? 2 weeks of rejection, slap, 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 like the price was banging its head on glass. Now, as of this recording, ADA's kind of finally smashed through that and is flirting with, 80 something cents. Why does that kind of tiny breakout matter? Well, because it invalidates the short-term downtrend, right? Bulls get a fresh higher high, shorts kind of scramble, and suddenly everyone's posting rocket emojis once again. Now, technically, 80 cents opens the runway towards Dan's first ladder, rung in at $1.25. Now, Will it kind of be a straight shot? Heck no, nothing in crypto ever is. Expect pullbacks, but the breakout is permission to kind of dream without sounding completely kind of deranged at the kind of family barbecue. Okay, so let's make this personal, right? Say you're not rolling with six figures. Maybe you've got a humble $10,000 ADA or 10,000 ADA bag, right? The same exit percentages still work, right? Sell 1,000 coins at each ladder step, right? Keep 3,000 for the moon, right? On a 10 grand stake, Dan's math suggests that you could still walk away with 30 plus grand in profit if the $8.50 fairy tale comes true. Now that's a used Tesla or a year's rent in a major city, right? The point is, strategy scales down beautifully, right? You don't need a kind of yacht money. You just need a plan and the willpower to actually follow it. Now it's the elephant in the chat. What if ADA never reaches $5, let alone $8? And it's a good question, right? Imaginary commentator. I'm sure there's actually probably someone down there bad-mouthing me and saying it's just ludicrous. Anyway, the beauty of laddering is that you're profitable long before the crazy numbers actually print. So by $2.50, you've actually recouped your initial capital. So worst case, you exit the market with no losses and maybe a modest gain. Best case, you ride the tail all the way up and still have coins to kind of showcase in the metaverse version of Antiques Roadshow. Risk managed, upside open, that's the whole vibe. Okay, so let's circle back to the catalyst because narratives move markets. Now, Cardano's devs are cooking up Bitcoin DeFi using sidechains that lock BTC value onto ADA's proof of stake backbone. So imagine the liquidity of Bitcoin married to Cardano's lower fees and staking ecosystem. Right, that experiment kind of gains traction, right? It solves kind of two major headaches at once, right? Bitcoin's idle capital kind of finally earning yield, and Cardano gets kind of sticky TVL, that's total value locked, that's been lagging behind things like Solana and Ethereum. Now, markets love solving headaches. They throw money at the aspirin. Another potential rocket booster here is regulation clarity, right? The SEC keeps kind of playing whack-a-mole with random tokens, but a couple of recent court wins for XRP and Grayscale hinted the agency might actually be forced into clearer guidelines. Now, if large funds see less regulatory fog, platforms like Cardano, already big on peer-reviewed research and formal methods, move up the institutional shopping list. And yes, I know we've heard institutions are coming since Mt. Gox, but the difference in 2025 is they're actually here. BlackRock, Fidelity, you name it, right? They're just careful, right? Give them rails, give them the tools. They'll actually drive big trucks of cash right over the road and dump that into things like Cardano's ADA. Okay, quick pit stop, mental health check, right? Setting ambitious targets is thrilling, but remember to live in the now. If watching green candles spikes your heart rate, maybe throw your sell orders in. Turn on notifications in our Discord so you'll know when they hit, and then go outside, right? Crypto will be here when you get back. And if ADA dumps 20% in an afternoon and Twitter declares the project dead, resist the urge to nuke your entire plan. A pre-written strategy is like autopilot. Turbulence doesn't cancel the flight. All right, time for the crescendo. Picture ADA blasting through $3.80. Fireworks everywhere. CNBC runs a segment titled The Cardano Comeback. And your cousin, who once called crypto magic beans, is now pinging you for advice. Right? This is price discovery, the Wild West where old charts are useless and emotions rule. This is where the precise moment that Dan sells heavier, right? 15,000 at $5.20, another 15,000 at $6.25. Why heavier? Because volume and volatility are peaking. Liquidity is rich, orders get filled instantly, you grab your chips while the casino lights are brightest. And trust me, nothing feels better than waking up to a filled sell order at $6 while the rest of the market is tweeting laser eyes. You took the cash, they're chasing the candle. And then comes the legend tier, $8.50. Maybe it's a weekly wick. Maybe it's a kind of sustained move. Who knows? But if it touches that final 10,000 ADA sale, locks in another 85 grand, pushing total realized gains to 300 plus thousand on an original 50K stake. ROI north of 660%. You'd need to hold Apple stock for 15 years to match that, and you still have 30,000 ADA left, chilling like vaulted wine, right? For whenever Hoskinson drops the next genius level upgrade. So let's cue the wind down, right? Let's quickly tally the lessons here. 1, buying is easy, selling is harder, right? So automate it. 2, risk scores are your friends, right? When the score said moderate buy last time, ADA went 35x, right? 3, you got a breakout above critical resistance at 74 cents, flips the short-term script. 4, catalysts matter, right? Bitcoin DeFi and regulatory clarity could pour fuel on the fire. And 5, ladders beat lottery tickets. Incremental profits keep the dream alive without nuking your stack. So if this walkthrough sparked ideas, smash that description link, hop into our free crypto Discord and share your own exit ladder, right? We nerd out over this stuff absolutely every single day. And if you want a kind of slick interface to kind of preload your orders, sign up to Blowfin. There's a link in the description down below. Grab the bonus and start trading on the exchange that everybody is calling the dark horse of 2025.